It's time for the RMAC Radio Show, featuring all the latest information from around the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. The RMAC is a proud member of NCAA Division II. Now, here's your host, Eric Danner.
Welcome to the RMAC Radio Show. My name is Eric Danner. Another big show planned for you here today. Final week of RMAC football action, and we have something that has never happened in the RMAC before with a number one ranked team in NCAA Division II. We also had the RMAC volleyball tournament. We're going to have Rick Squires on in segment number 2. Nebraska-Kearney will be hosting the NCAA regionals. And then in segment number 3, we're going to have Megan Woodworth from Colorado Mines. The Ore Diggers are in the Sweet 16 round of the NCAA women's soccer tournament. They will be playing Fort Lewis this upcoming week. But let's start with what happened this past week in RMAC football. CSU-Pueblo, number one team in the nation. They beat Western New Mexico 48-7. Kyle Major, special teams player of the week, once again kicking 2 field goals and 30 to 50 mile an hour winds while extending his national leading field goal total to 22. What a weapon he has been for the Thunderwolves. Nebraska-Kearney also keeping pace. The Lopers beat Colorado Mines 45-21. The Lopers will be the number 2 seed in the NCAA playoffs with CSU-Pueblo number 1. First time that's ever happened in RMAC history. We'll have Commissioner J.R. Smith on in just a few minutes to talk about that. Chadron State defeats Colorado Mesa 24-17. The Eagles with a tough season, but they finish out RMAC play 6-3, tied for third with Colorado Mines. Colorado Mesa finishes out 3-6, 4-7 overall. Number 4 game of the week, Adams State defeating Western State 49-10 in the Colorado Classic. That's always a good rivalry game. Mark Amos in his first start for the Grizzlies, 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing in his first career start as Adams State finishes 4-5 in the RMAC. And Fort Lewis finishes the season with a victory. They beat New Mexico Highlands in Las Vegas 6-3. David Ferris, in his final game of his career, has one of the best games of his career. He's our RMAC Defensive Player of the Week. And now joining us is the Commissioner of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, J.R. Smith. J.R., quite a day here in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference as we have 2 teams, the top 2 seeds in football. That has never happened before.
No, it hasn't, and it is exciting. And interestingly, I was talking to somebody at the CSU-Pueblo game Saturday, and we were talking about what the planning would be like with us being 1 and 2 seeds, and they asked me, well, what do you think they'll do as they plan for that? And I go, I don't know, because we've never done it before. We've never had a day off or a week off like that. So I think it's good. Obviously, exceptional to have the number 1 and number 2 seeds for a couple of reasons. Number 1, we get that bye week to kind of heal up, which has always been an issue for us with limited scholarships, that we actually, we have just as good of teams at the beginning of the year, but kids get banged up, and by the end of the year, they need that kind of rest. So now we've got them in a situation where we can do that, and perhaps we can make a pretty good run toward getting deep into the playoffs, which would be very exciting for the RMAC.
Talking with Commissioner J.R. Smith, and J.R., who's also on the football regional ranking committee. It almost had to be a perfect storm in a sense to have this happen. We had CSU-Pueblo go on the road early in the season, beat West Texas, huge victory on the road. Nebraska-Kearney goes to Wayne State and beats them on the road also, and then Wayne State winds up beating Duluth, so that had to help everybody's strength of schedule. And then the fact that Pueblo ran the table in the RMAC and Kearney's only loss wound up being to Pueblo, all those things had to play a factor.
Well, and I think the biggest factor that helped both of those schools be 1 and 2 was the fact that we had schools in the middle of the pack of the conference that had winning records at the end of the year. It was a highly competitive football season this year, and then we had 6, 7 very good teams that were competitive and had the opportunity on any particular Saturday to beat somebody. So that's what makes the difference, and that's when you get advantages in the Division II playoffs, it's based on how well your overall conference is. It really is, and this year we just happen to be a pretty good conference overall.
Talking with J.R. Smith, Commissioner of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. So 2 first-round byes. So no football this weekend, but November 26th, Kearney will be at home and Pueblo will be at home. And you mentioned that's a huge advantage to have that week off for rest, especially this time
Sure.
of year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think, the other huge advantage there is you get an opportunity to play in front of your own folks, even though it's going to be on Thanksgiving weekend. But I'll guarantee you at both of those places the house will be full, and there'll be lots of people there to cheer on those RMAC schools, and hopefully we come out of that and we end up, if everything goes to Hoyle, we would end up with a number 1 versus number 2 game, which would be spectacular, an RMAC all RMAC regional final. So.
And the national rankings came out. Once again, we're talking to J.R. Smith, Commissioner of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. National rankings come out. CSU-Pueblo number 1 in the country. Kearney sitting at number 4. But it's more than that even this fall, where we have Western State ranked number 1 in cross country. We've seen Adams State hold that title this year. We saw Fort Lewis men's soccer ranked number 1 earlier this season. We've seen the other sport would be women's soccer. We're doing really well with Colorado Mines hosting a Sweet 16 matchup. And then volleyball, Nebraska-Kearney has really come on strong, and they got to be up in the top 2 or 3 in the country, I would imagine, as well.
Right. It's been a very, very successful fall for us. And, it's the football, we don't necessarily anticipate that every year. We always have at least 1 or 2 good football teams. But the kind of success we had in football this year is not, it's something that we have every year. But we certainly have that kind of success in volleyball, and it's exciting to see what Kearney's done here. And, they've really only lost 1 match all year long. That's amazing. And, of course, soccer is an area where we've typically had a lot of success. And the fact that we got 5 of the 6 slots in the women's soccer were all schools from our own conference. That's a huge accomplishment right there. And of course, the Fort Lewis, both men's and women's programs have both been very very successful and continue to move along in the playoffs.
Talking with J.R. Smith, Commissioner of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. J.R. at Nebraska-Kearney hosting the RMAC or the NCAA regionals this week, which is huge in a sense that the Northern Sun has produced the national champion, I believe, the last 4 years in a row. And so our region's super tough for volleyball. We got 3 teams in Kearney, Metro, and Mines. I had a chance to see Kearney and Metro play this weekend, and it would be interesting to see if I know that's the one thing Rick Squires has not been able to accomplish in his time in the RMAC. He's won numerous championships, hosted numerous regionals, but they have not been able to get that elusive national title. And the way they're playing now, they definitely could make a run for it.
Yeah, they're certainly strong, and Rick has done a wonderful job, as you mentioned, the whole time that he's been in our conference, and certainly one of the many the people that we're going to miss when Kearney leaves. But their squad seems to be playing very, very well right now, and if hopefully that gets them a little momentum, being able to host at home and move that on to a national championship, it would be very exciting.
And then this upcoming weekend, we're talking with J.R. Smith, cross-country nationals coming up in Spokane, Washington, and it's almost expected out of Adams and Western. I know they expect it to compete and win national championships. So at this time next week, we could have 2 more.
Yeah, and that would be spectacular. We had a lot of fun with the opportunity to host the regional in Denver at Wash Park here not too long ago, and that was a big challenge because that's the first time that we've had a regional at altitude, and that was exciting. It was a nice atmosphere. There was a little snow on the ground on Friday night, but we got some magic, and it came in and the winds blew it all the way, so we had a nice clean track, and it was an exciting event, really fun, a lot of fun, and Metro State hosted it and did an excellent job of that. So.
Well, a lot of great things happening here in the RMAC, and want to thank JR for taking some time out to join us here on the radio show. When we come back, we're going to talk RMAC volleyball, as we mentioned, with Rick Squires, the head coach at Nebraska-Kearney. You're listening to the RMAC radio show.